What's up my biker friends and welcome back to another video. I'm here in Stephan's garage and we're in the middle of removing an engine from a 1290 Super Adventure S that was built in 2021. So this is the latest model that KTM has, and we'll take you through the step-by-step of removing all these sort of accessory parts that you need to remove in order to get to the engine, and take you through the entire step until we then finally remove the engine from the chassis. The motor has 60,000 kilometers on the clock. It makes weird noises after you start it, so we'll remove the engine and then tomorrow we'll bring it to a specialist that will take a look at the engine, open up the engine and take a look at it. Today it's all about removing the engine. As far as I know, there are no videos on YouTube at the moment that show the engine removal of one of these newer, the latest model basically of the 1290 Super Adventure models. So today we're gonna take you through the steps of what it takes to remove an engine from these newer models. Dieses klack, 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 klack. Ja. Ja. So Stephan just had a look at the shop manual. There's an official shop manual that tells you all the individual steps that you need to do to remove the engine. So first you have to remove all the side covers. The tank has to come off. So these steps are pretty straightforward. It's just removing lots of screws, and then you take the tank panels off and the top panel, and once that's done, it's relatively straightforward to remove the tank from the bike. Yeah, that's that little power connector connecting the USB power port to the bike. You just have to remove it and then that little storage thing comes out. And now gets to live on the couch. So with these side panels, it's pretty straightforward. Most of them are the same screws. There's a few extra ones in there that have different length, but that's pretty easy to see when you take them off. And this one is a bit easier because it doesn't have any crash bars. Because if the work around crash bars, it takes a bit longer.
There's one from the bottom and one screw from down here, or two screws.
Oh, the bash plate, the whatever, it's not really bash, it's a splash guard.
Splash.
It's not It's just a piece of plastic to cover the engine, the bottom side of the engine that needs to come off. So that's the coolant reservoir. Obviously when you remove the engine you have to remove the hoses that connect to the engine, so we have to drain the coolant out of the system. In order to do that, that's gonna come later. Before we remove the tank, there's a connection. Actually, there's valves that will close it up. It's pretty good on this one. You just close them up. and there's a hose that connects both of the tanks because they're two halves of this bike. That's probably something that needs to be detached to, but first you close off the valve, both sides, so nothing drains out, and then you can remove the little hoses here. So it's just a little clamp connection that comes off, and that happens on both sides.
Kommt mal was raus?
Yeah. That's it, there's not much gas coming out, it's just a little bit that was in the hose. Interesting, so that's basically the indicator for the fuel, and then yeah, you have to remove that little plug, disconnect it.
Here's a fuel pump, it goes in here, and there we have one electrical connection, it's this one.
Okay.
And then we have this fuel line connector, so you have on both sides you have a green button, so this one, and on the other side is one as well, and you need to press them. Sometimes they're a bit hard to get out, but
perfect.
quite good, and you see if you press them.
That's pretty easy to do, just a couple of connections for the hoses and the electrical connections, and then that's basically it. That's all you need to do. So there's a handful of connections to free up the tank. There's a screw up here, there's one down on this side, up here I think it is, right? And then there's a couple on each side down here. So we'll take all the screws off both sides. It's pretty straightforward overall. It's just loosen them up.
The rest with take the metal thing, overflow the fuel, and drain. That's the drainage. The drainage.
That's actually an interesting story on the overflow, because if you don't pay attention how you put it back together and that hose gets squeezed, pressure builds up in the tank. I actually had to make the unpleasant experience what happens if you have too much pressure in the tank. So my tank was brought down to a third, and then all the fuel came splashing out. I did a video on that too, and I didn't actually know at the time what it was. It was a squeezed hose. I had the KTM at service, and when they put the panels back on, they were squeezing the overflow hose, and so the pressure built up in the tank and the gas splashes out. So if you ever see that or happening to you, this is probably a good place to look.
Or when you want to refill it and open the fuel cap
and it sounds like that. That's a good sign that there's something off with these hoses at the top connection. Yep.
And this is the electric connector for the electronic fuel cap.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
And we have two more panel screws. One is here, which is also locked to the tank. But then we have another connection here, which is from the airbox. This needs to be going through here, and then it can be sit like this.
Okay.
And then we have this. So this is just to organizing the plugs, the cables, but this one needs to be taken off as well. One screw is missing. Here. Just look for, here's the screw. So this is now
okay, that's just holding
as well, and this will go down here when you take it off, hopefully.
Perfect.
Fuel pump, electric connection from the fuel pump, both fuel lines disconnected, the hoses at top, this one at the airbox, all screws removed, and then we should be able
to lift the tank off.
Lift the tank.
There we go, there it is. So time to remove the tank after you've checked all the connections are gone. Ideally you don't fill it up before you do this. That's why I'm saying it. You can tell by the weight. And yeah, find a place to lean it against so it sits upright. So the whole thing up until this point took a good 13 to 15 minutes. That's not very long at all.
Remove the airbox.
The airbox needs to be removed, yeah.
For this one, all screws needs to be taken off. They have different length, so pay attention when you put them back in.
Lots of screws. This is where the benefit of a power tool comes in. We speed this whole thing up a little bit. Okay, oh, those are the air stacks in there. And the air filter sitting in front of it. The good thing with these 2021 models and up is that you do not have to remove the tank anymore to change the air filter out. There's an easy way to just get to the air filter, and it's just up from the front. So all you have to remove is that little box that's sitting there, which is a huge benefit, because before that you had to remove the entire tank in order to get to the air filter. This is all you need to remove nowadays. That was sitting there, was the first thing we took off, and that makes maintenance a lot easier. Okay, now the air stacks are coming off. I've never seen it like this, so it's quite interesting for me too. So there's a little hose that was connected to the airbox. Oh, there's another hose connection. Okay, that's the other one, I guess. That's from the front cylinder. Is that probably the right thing? Oh, that's a nice one. Okay, it's a bit hard to get to. There you can see it actually. Ah, okay, this thing. Ah, okay, okay. Yeah. Okay, that's a little, and then you push it down with a screwdriver.
We need to do it on the other side as well.
So it's hard to show on camera, but you can see the hoses. Yeah, and it's off now, which is good. Also, there are the intakes. The two, these are coming off already by itself. Okay, that's just a drain hose that's coming off now, and that's it. There's the airbox.
And then you need to pay attention that the seal rings stay in place. So last time I did this service, I put some grease on it so they stick in the groove.
Ah, okay, that's good. Top of the engine with the airbox removed. That's the easy part. So just disconnect the battery basically from the power supply. Another quick peek into the manual to see what we've got already. So the next step is the throttle valve assembly that needs to be removed.
The plugs. One plug for the front one, and one for the back one. Here the fuel line. So this is the fuel line which we took earlier off at the bottom of the fuel tank.
Oh, it's the same connection. You can see the green connector.
Yeah, I need to press it from both sides.
And then it's just clipping off.
So this is undone already.
A little clip.
So this one is...
It's a little clip connector.
Yeah, it's just the cover first, and then we have a second.
It's awfully fiddly back there. Okay, that looks like it's off.
So undone.
Oh, there it is. There is the plug. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You can sort of see where it's at. A little hard to see, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So a total of 3 screws that need to be loosened. Oh no, right, okay, there it is. So you have to jiggy it loose a little bit, and then it should come right off. And there it is.
And then we have here, I think this is the heating. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's coming off too. So 2 more connectors.
And the front one as well.
Front and back. And there you go. There it is. And now it's easier to see the screws. So these are the screws that were a bit harder to see. So it's just like a tension band that's right, just closing it off. That's the fuel injection coming in on one side and the other side. Interesting. So this is definitely a first for me to see an engine up close like this. Throttle valve body removed. Very cool. You can actually look in, you can actually see the valves in there to some degree. It's actually a good view onto sort of the emissions part here. This is what the Rottweiler system, if you're familiar with that, this is the stuff that they take out so that air doesn't go back into the air box. So this is all for emissions. We'll leave it in, of course, because we're in Germany. We have to leave it in. So far, we've removed the tank assembly, the throttle valve assembly that's been taken off. So all the stuff on the top is already removed. So the next step is to open up the liquid, the coolant, engine coolant. So we have to drain the coolant liquid out of the system. That's the next step. This is one of the radiators. This model has 2 radiators. So you can already hear it. It's coming out. So the top cap is removed. Yeah. And here is the nice pink liquid. There's only one refiller cap that's on the right hand side of the bike that's already open, so once that screw is open, that's going to come out immediately, I would think.
Other side is coming.
Oh, there, here we go. So as this side is draining, there is another drain plug that needs to come out, and that is close to the water pump. The water pump is, that's basically the water pump sits right above it, and there's that screw, and then so there's the third drain hole to drain the liquid. The fuel hose needs protection. So latex rubber. So just keeping it protected so there's no dirt coming in. So the coolant is drained now. The next thing that needs to come off is the entire exhaust system, all the way from the front of the cylinder to the back, starting with the muffler in the end, and then the entire assembly needs to come off. So the muffler is actually an easy one. It's that screw here, and then there's a little clamp that attaches the muffler to the pipe. It's a couple screws really, that's all it takes. Okay. There we go, easy peasy. And that's a nice view of the catalytic converter coming out. So this is the oil intake. There's a little brace that needs to come off as well. This is going to be fun for Stephan to sort all the screws. They're all going into a single bucket, but he has memorized them all, so it'll be no problem for him to put it all back together.
I give you a call. I need the video. I need the video.
I need the video to see where the screws are going. So that shop manual is quite useful, and Stephan just told me this is something you can buy from KTM. It's 20 euros to buy that, which is great, because this is the full manual. The stuff that you get as a customer, as a regular customer, is just maintenance stuff, but this has everything in it, including the engine removal. Yeah, well, wie heißt denn das? Head manifold, right? The manifold. Manifold. Okay, so there's another plug that needs to be unplugged. Is that the one?
I hope so.
Where is that going? Oh, that's the lambda sensor. That's the plug for the lambda sensor. That's my guess, isn't it? I think that's what it is. The front lambda. There's another one for the rear, and that's the front one. Oh, it's up here. Interesting. Okay. So it's right under the seat, and that will run to the rear lambda sensor.
Here's one cable tire in here. From the inside. This one.
Okay.
Here's also the emergency opening for the
for the seat, yeah. So if the electric actuator doesn't work, this is the way to pop the seat off. So there's an assembly of plugs under that right hand cover.
So dazwischen. So. Und dann den nach vorne.
Perfect. Okay, now we solved the mystery of what that plug is for. There are actually 3 sensors. There's 2 coming off straight after the engine block, and then there's one when the pipes, the 2 cylinders combine into, right before they go into the catalytic converter. That's the 3rd plug that just came out.
Ah, yes, yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's okay. So it's a bit fiddly to take that one out. So the last one was actually this sensor right before it goes into the catalytic converter. And the second one we did, that's actually easy to see, is this one here. That was sitting right under the seat, the plug. And that came off as the second plug. All right, here we go. So now the manifold needs to come off. There's several points where the manifold's connected to the frame and obviously to both of the cylinder heads. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the next thing that's coming off are the connections from the manifold to the cylinder heads. And the front ones are really easy to get to, actually. That's an obvious one to the frame. Be loose enough, takes a little bit of wiggling. There it is.
We need to renew this one. Just the gasket, I think.
Oh, that's the gasket, yeah.
Interesting.
But I mean, the manifold looks pretty good for 60,000 kilometers.
Good quality.
That's pretty nice. The bike looks quite naked now. Stephan capped the intakes with rubber as well, just to prevent any dirt from getting in. The right tools make all the difference.
By hand, best thing.
With the last bolt removed, this is going to be the last piece for the exhaust manifold to be removed. So far what's been removed is the entire tank assembly. The coolant water has been drained, the manifold is taken off. There's a few more steps, as these are still preparation steps. We haven't even touched the engine yet, but most of the preparation work is now done. Okay, there's one other piece as prep work we need to do is remove the chain. The chain needs to come off. Anyway, it needs to come off anyway because it needs a new chain kit. And so there's a proper way of doing it, which is right here, is the chain cutter removal tool, but we'll do the fun part and use a grinder. Yeah. The next step in order to remove the chain, everything else is going to stay on the bike for the moment. The wheel's going to stay on the bike, just the chain's going to come off. So we need to press the pins out and open the chain up. There we go. There's the pin that was driven out, and now the chain's open and it's coming off. So with all the hard parts removed, the next thing is now to remove all the sort of hoses, and so there's some hoses and there's electrical connections that need to be removed. So removing all these connections is going to be the easy part. Putting it back together, that's going to be fun.
So here's another one.
So the plugs need to be taken off. So this is the SLS
valve,
and that's the plug for that. That's a big one, easy to find.
Another one.
That's coming off too. That's for the whole emission thing, the emission setup there.
Yeah, these ones come here.
Okay, more plugs for the. Is it in?
This
spark plugs probably.
Spark plug, yeah.
Oh,
side spark plug, the smaller one, and here's the big one. So
that looks like that has a screw on there.
Yeah, it's this cable.
Okay.
And you need to. This is gently move it. It's easy to break. Oop.
And there we go.
So
okay.
That's that. We leave this in here because they use this when they rebuild the engine later. We leave them.
And then they put it on the test stand, right, to see how it runs. So of course there's some in the back as well. Two spark plugs, one in the side and one on top. Okay, there's one.
Squeeze together.
Okay, that's like attached to the frame, and there's the plugs.
Yeah, same thing. Easy, gently.
There you go. It comes off.
And here
Okay. Spark plugs are off. Perfect.
This is from the stator. This goes in the stator side to. This does the electric. Wie gemacht werden, aber es wird mich wundern, wenn nicht.
Ja.
Ja, doch, der ist auch in der Anleitung hier.
Okay. That's another one.
Wahrscheinlich auch.
Das ist ja wirklich gut gekennzeichnet, ne?
Ja, von den Farben her.
Yeah. So far the plugs are well marked, either by color or size. It seems when you have to put it back together again, it should be pretty straightforward to find the right plug. But there's lots of them. There's a lot of plugs. So the next thing that's coming off now is the clutch cylinder. So at the moment that's the cover for the front sprocket, yeah. And then that grey box to the left, that's where the clutch cylinder is. The receiving cylinder. Beautiful.
It's like chewing gum.
Ah,
yeah.
Yummy. Oh, there's lots of goo built up in there. And there's the clutch cylinder. So that chain set's been on there for what, 30,000?
No, 20,000. I
20.
change all the chains every 20,000 kilometers.
Okay.
On the rental bikes, I let them change because, yeah, it's not worth. I don't ask my customers to look too much after them, and it's just also the DID recommendation for changing the chain kit is 20,000 kilometers.
Okay, that's good.
If you private and you oil it every time you ride before it and really look after it, I think you get 35,000 out of it.
So that's the little guard,
yeah,
just in case the chain does come off.
Here, and we need to remove it. Here.
Okay, that looks very good. Lots of goo build up.
Just another electric connection is behind this cover.
Dang.
More cables.
More cables, more plugs to remove. Floop.
Always need to take a look how they disconnect. So this one was pulling from the bottom. This one is pressing from the top. Normally they get off quite easy if you do it correct. So just take your time and take a look how to, if it needs to be pulled or pressed.
One is the
side stand.
The side stand sensor. So that's the one when you put the side stand down in first gear, it shuts off the engine. And the other one is the gear indicator cable to show what gear you're in. Those are the two cables are just now hanging down. And the reason we know all this is because we keep reading the manual. That's the secret sauce on how to know what these cables actually do and what sensors they connect. Okay, so now side stands coming off. More hard parts to remove.
Cut the cable ties because now I can't get it because they're connected together, side stand and gear sensor.
Ah,
cable.
okay.
So that's the reason.
So more cable ties are coming off. There you go.
Interesting, okay.
So side stand is coming off with the sensor and the cable attached. So there's more to remove from the side stand. There is a sort of mounting bracket that needs to come off where the side stand was mounted, and it's gooed up with chain loop. Okay, so there's 3 screws that need to be removed in order to remove that metal bracket for the side stand.
And I think that's the reason, because they have, when you do hardcore off-road riding on these bikes, they have a side stand relocation kit because it's mounted to the engine case.
Yeah, I heard about that, right? There's some that offer that. I know Black Dog motorcycles, right? For the skid plate, they offer a relocation kit for those real hardcore riders that don't want to risk sort of jamming on the side stand and then potentially cracking the engine case. There we go, there it is. so there's more cables to be removed. We're back under where the seat cover is. This plug now leads to the rear swing arm. It senses the angle of the rear swing arm, right? And then feeds the information to the semi-active suspension system for, I think, automatic preload adjustment, something like that. So that's the cable that goes down to the sensor, and the sensor sits close to the swing arm. So now Stephan's removing all the zip ties, and it goes all the way down to the swing arm. It's a black little casing that's sitting on the engine case. That's the sensor.
It's still working.
So the cable's loose, the sensor still needs to be taken off the engine case. There's a few screws that attach the sensor to the engine case, and it's pretty straightforward to take it off. Okay, that's the one. Next thing that's coming off is cables of starter motor coming off. And they're sitting between, starter motor sitting between the cylinders, between that V of the V engine. So it's a bit easier to see from the side. There's two of those screws coming off. Yeah, there's one. So that's a cable, so that's minus cable coming off. Okay, another cable coming off. And behind it is the actual starter motor sitting there, the gray box sitting in the back of the frame. Oh, that's just like something to mount the cables. Okay, yeah. So it's just pushed in basically, and then
the same
on this side.
The same on the other side. Yes.
Oh, there it is. I can see it now. So it's just like propped in there. Yeah. Okay, there it is. Oh, there's. It's easy to see. Okay, that's the connection. So it's just pushed in, and it's holding a bunch of cables. Okay, that's coming off. So that's another hose that needs to be removed. That's the one from the airbox, that one of the earlier things that we removed, that needs to be pulled out now to the bottom. That's pretty easy to do.
Just don't lose the...
There it is. The next thing that's coming off is the front sprocket. We're not quite sure if it's really necessary, but we'll do it anyway. It's just, it needs to be done. It needs to come off anyway. So the thing that Stephan's hammering at, that's just the sort of safety thing, so that it doesn't open up by itself. Just a piece of metal that's bent over on two sides, so the nut doesn't come off. So it gives...
lefty loosey, righty tighty.
And it's pretty easy, isn't it?
That was very easy.
I've had that too on mine, which basically I could take it off by hand. So there's a reason why there's the safety thing in there.
And then to take this, sometimes they're a bit stuck, so you have to wiggle from the bottom. But this one, you already see it moves quite easy. Yeah. Now you just have to have with the teeth on the sprocket, you have to be on the correct spot on the. So you put it in neutral, and then you have to find the spot where the teeth.
So clear the frame, right?
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't work if you're a bit higher. Now it doesn't work. Now we are just in the gap, in the groove too. Yeah, like
the gear shift lever needs to come off too. That's pretty easy to do. It's just a single screw that needs to come off. There it is. And done. We're getting very close to having removed all the connections to the engine. Last thing that needs to come off still is the coolant, the hoses from the radiator going to the engine. There's a few connections. There's two radios on each side, so there's two connections on each side. They need to come off. And it's pretty easy to access them. There's still some juice left. So this little guy is still a bit hard to pull off because it is this little clamp that mounts the hose to the back, so it's hard to move it off. So we need to loosen it up a bit, and then it comes off.
Ah, okay, now this one works. Okay.
Oh, that came off.
Wow. aussieht hier. Guck mal hier.
Ja, krass. Okay, so there's one screw that's going back, and that's the drain from the underside of the water pump that we used with the washer that's going back in there. So if they...
This is going to be renewed when the engine gets set in.
Because they put it on a test stand, they want that to be tight. So that's going back in. So there's one final part that's coming off. That could be left attached, but it's just it's the splash guard to the engine that's just coming off. A couple screws that's coming off. With all those final removals of the parts, we'll have to do a final check to see if really all the connections are indeed removed from the actual engine.
The rest will unplug by itself. Ignore the engine.
The engine, what do you think the engine weighs? Probably 60 kilograms or something? It's pretty heavy. And so Stephan's now putting a lift on the engine block so we can lower the engine. The engine only attaches to the top of the frame, so there's a few screws obviously that hold the engine in place, and the engine itself is part of it's a structural member of the frame, so there's no down tubes, no lower tubes. So the engine will, once all the screws are loose, will come down onto the lift there. So once you see how many screws that need to be removed, but that's pretty close to the final thing. So that little lift is in place. Now the sort of scratch covers are coming off. And there's another cap sitting where one of the main screws is that holds the engine in place. So these screws right over the foot pegs, they're some of the major ones that need to be removed in order to lower the engine. There's a few more that I can see. Which ones? This one, okay.
This one?
Yep.
This one?
Okay.
And on both sides.
So the manual says start with these silver ones here. There's 2 screws connected to the frame, 1 to the engine down here. And the manual says to take all those screws out, not just the bottom one. So that's exactly what's happening right now. Loose.
Different length and Loctite on it.
So the only connection that from that triple connector or whatever is going on down here is the bottom screw. That's the one that held up the engine on this side and on the other side. Okay. So single screw connecting the radiator to the engine mount there. This comes off. Okay, so the moment of truth, the final bolt that needs to be removed in order to lower the engine out of the frame.
Okay.
Looks good. Okay, that's easy. Okay, so es geht ja leicht. Okay, it's coming out.
Okay, wait. Okay.
Okay, I'm pulling it out and...
Yeah. One?
No.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
it's coming out. Okay.
It's moving.
Okay, Stephan's like lowering it now. It's coming out. Looks pretty good. Just gonna keep... Da war jetzt ein Geräusch, was so quietscht hat. Genau.
Do you have tension on any cable? No. Okay, now we got some tension here. Okay.
Wow.
Here's noch was. Okay. Here's one final thing.
Okay, forgot something?
Yeah, here in the middle. The plus from the starter engine.
Ah.
Nice.
Okay. It's good to take it slow.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
We're going to make our steak table tonight.
Excellent.
At 8:15.
So one final cable needs to be removed. This is the plus cable for the starter. Pretty big one.
Now I'm stuck, I think, here. Bit with the bike.
Ooh, wow. It's like heart surgery. The 160 horsepower heart is coming out.
Okay.
Damn. Gucken, dass er nicht umkippt jetzt, ne, der Motor.
Das Geist ist, ne? Komplett ausgebaut ohne.
Ist krass, ne? Yeah, it looks.
So the wife is not complaining about anything.
No.
Because I got my good jeans on.
Like the good jeans on. Could have wore your suit. You know, yeah. That is amazing.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do, this is. Now it takes two people. Now I finally get to help, actually, not just film. We are trying to put the bolt back in to get the rear swing arm. It's hanging loose at the moment, and if we want to move the bike,
okay,
that needs to be back in there. So lowered the engine out of the chassis, and now it's coming off. And here's the heart of the 1290 Super Adventure. Yes.